Seattle's getting hit by tech layoffs just as AI is replacing more of the work people used to do, but the money isn't leaving. Microsoft, Amazon, and other tech companies are still investing heavily right here. So in this video, I'm breaking down what AI and these layoffs mean for Seattle's future. I've been in this market for 15 years and I'll show you my predictions for the next few months, plus who has the strongest advantage right now. AI is changing the way the world works. It's changing how companies hire, how teams are built, how people do their jobs, and how much work can now get done with fewer people. And Seattle is right in the middle of that. We've got some of the strongest tech talent in the country all tied up into one region. Tech makes up about 13% of our total workforce, and inside that, Amazon and Microsoft carry serious weight. Now, all of this growth has been great for Seattle, but it has come with a cost. Jobs get cut, companies need fewer people, and the roles that stay are changing. Seattle is one of those cities seeing that happen up close. Since 2023, Amazon and Microsoft together have cut more than 46,000 workers here. Together, they make up around 85% of all tech layoffs across Seattle area companies during that stretch. That is a massive number. No other two companies in the country have put that level of job cutting into one single metro area. Microsoft CEO said AI is already writing about 20 to 30% of the code inside Microsoft. Those tools can now handle part of the coding work, so the company doesn't need as many people doing the same work by hand. Amazon has been moving in the same direction too, with leaner teams, more ownership, and less red tape. That's why software job postings in Seattle are below the levels we had before the pandemic. But earlier this year, the cuts got even sharper. Amazon filed notices here in Washington for almost 2,200 workers. More than 1,400 of those were in Seattle and over 600 were in Bellevue. We're talking about core product and engineering roles. Then Microsoft followed with about 2,000 Washington state cuts as part of its AI restructuring. Starbucks is part of this too. They've also been cutting hundreds of corporate jobs at their Seattle headquarters, including over 250 more this summer alone. And most recently, Meta cut 20% of its local workforce. And this is where Seattle's tech cuts connect to the bigger map. In a few minutes, I'll show you why the east side is pulling in a different kind of growth, so stay with me. Now, when those companies change direction at the same time, the impact spreads really fast across the city. In the first half of 2025, around 450 restaurants closed across Seattle. That's about 16% of the city's restaurants. And around the big tech campuses, people are spending less too, down as much as 7% in nearby restaurants, stores, and business areas. All of that creates a real budget problem for the city because weaker payroll and sales tax collections mean less money coming in. But the economy is not falling apart. The tech industry is rebuilding itself around AI. Seattle ranks as the second strongest tech talent market in the country, and Puget Sound has the third largest group of AI specialty workers in the US. So the talent doesn't just disappear when big companies cut jobs. It gets hired somewhere else, it gets retrained, it moves into new companies, new teams, and new AI roles. Over time, that can put Seattle in a stronger position. So yes, the layoffs are real, and they're hitting Seattle hard because tech drives so much of the city. But when you look at the housing numbers, they're not moving the way the headlines make you think. That's where I want to go next. So if you're a professional trying to figure out whether to buy, sell, or sit tight while all of this is playing out, that's the kind of situation my team handles every day in Seattle and on the east side. We'll give you a real read on your specific neighborhood and timing. My contact info is in the description below. All right, so back to it. The economy and the job market are changing in Seattle, so of course that's going to show up in housing too. Some parts of the market aren't moving much. I mean, there are condos sitting for more than a month without a single showing. But then in the same kind of market, a single family home in Maple Leaf pulled in 27 offers last week, and it didn't even have a primary suite. Another home in Wedgwood got 9 offers in one day. So we're seeing a very split market inside the same city. Things are softer in some places, but the market isn't crashing. Buyers do have more options now than they had last year. King County has about 40% more single-family homes on the market, and almost half of Seattle homes are selling under the asking price. Prices have cooled a bit, with the median home value sitting in the mid to high 800s. When a strong home hits the market in the right area, however, buyers move fast. If the home has a strange floor plan, a tough location, or a bunch of work waiting for the next owner, it can sit. That's the market we're in right now. A modern home in Denny Blaine went pending in 5 days. A Fremont townhome went pending in 6 days, and they went over list price. But then you've got a 2-bedroom view condo in Belltown with parking that had to drop to $450. So you're seeing the same city, same week, but very different results. Now, downtown condos are taking over a month to sell on average, sometimes even 2. That's a much slower pace than the strong single-family neighborhoods up north and over on the east side. So yes, housing is softer in some places, but companies are still investing heavily in AI, and that could change what this market looks like next. I'll show you that in a minute. So when someone says the Seattle market is crashing, that is not the full picture. Strong single-family homes are still getting attention, especially with a nice location, layout, well price. Condos, especially downtown condos, have cooled in a much bigger way. So if you're buying or selling, you need to know which side of the coin you're on before you make your next move. Now, that split gets even sharper when you cross the lake. So let's talk about the Seattle versus East Side split. Seattle's downtown office market is still in a tough stretch. Office vacancy hit a record 34% at the end of last year, which is more than 4 times higher than before the pandemic. Amazon helped turn South Lake Union into the tech hub we know today, but now it's shrinking part of its downtown footprint. The city is also facing a major budget deficit, so downtown has a lot to deal with. Across the lake, in the east side, things are moving in a different direction. I'm talking about places like Bellevue, Kirkland, Redmond, Mercer Island. That area is pulling in some of the biggest names in tech and AI, and Bellevue is leading a lot of that. It has become one of the strongest commercial markets in the country. Home prices over there didn't suddenly take off this year. They've been strong for years. The bigger growth is in office demand and company expansion. The Bellevue Chamber reported over 2 million square feet of active office demand on the east side, driven by tech and AI companies. And in Bellevue's downtown core, rents are above $80 per square foot. Seattle is closer to the low 50s. That gap says a lot about where companies want to grow. OpenAI signed a lease for nearly 300,000 square feet in Bellevue. That's one of the largest AI leases in the region. Databricks also has growing Bellevue office, and Amazon is still growing its Bellevue headquarters while pulling back on some of its Seattle office space. But Seattle, they still have major tech activity too. Anthropic is the company behind Claude and has been looking at leasing another 120,000 square feet in South Lake Union, where it already has offices. So Seattle is still a major tech city, but more of the new growth is moving east. And that's why Bellevue keeps coming up in this conversation. Top schools are another big draw for families looking at the east side. Bellevue School District was ranked the top public school district in Washington State for 2025. Lake Washington and Mercer Island also ranked high. So when high-earning families are deciding where to live, those school districts can carry a lot of weight. And in a minute, I'll give you my prediction for where this market is heading and who has the strongest advantage, so stick with me. Now, the east side is in a different price range. Bellevue's core market runs from the mid 1 million to over 3 million, with luxury homes going above 4 million. Kirkland sits in the mid to high 1 millions to mid 2 millions in established neighborhoods, and waterfront homes can reach double digits. Redmond is mostly in the low to mid 1 millions to mid 2 millions because of its location near tech jobs. And the high-end market is still moving. Recently, the most expensive east side pending sale was a Kirkland waterfront property in the upper 9 millions. The most expensive closed sale was a modern home in Anatai at 9.75 million. So if you're deciding where to live, the lake is more than a line on the map. Seattle still has history, culture, talent, and major employers. The east side has top schools, newer office growth, and major AI expansion. Now there's one more thing that could shape the long-term future of the whole region. The layoff numbers are real, but these companies are also pouring serious money into AI. Microsoft and Amazon are investing hundreds of billions of dollars combined into AI infrastructure and data centers. So yes, some jobs are going away, but a new kind of employment base is being built at the same time. Companies are keeping teams leaner. They don't need the same number of people doing work that AI can now help with, but the people who can build, manage, and improve these systems are becoming more valuable. That's why top AI and machine learning talent in Seattle can still command some of the strongest paid packages in tech. So the workforce may be smaller in some areas, but the workers who land in these higher value roles may end up with more spending power. If someone gets cut from a role that AI can replace, that's a hard moment, no way around it. But if that same person moves into AI infrastructure, biotech space, or a smaller AI company, they may come out with a stronger role than the one they lost. That's the transition happening right now. Seattle is changing the kind of jobs that drive the local economy, but the city has more than one engine. So with all of these changes happening in the job market, here are my predictions for the rest of the year. The market didn't crash, and I don't think it's going to crash. Seattle is changing, it's in a transition, and that is far different from a collapse. If you've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for prices to drop 30% before you buy, you will be waiting a long time. What I do think happens is inventory keeps building into the summer. Probably peaks around August or early September, later than last year when inventory peaked in midsummer. That gives buyers more choices, and with more homes sitting on the market, buyers also get more room to negotiate. That's especially important if you're a first-time buyer or move-up buyer under the low $1 million range. For that group, this is one of the best buying windows we've seen in years. People in Seattle are distracted by summer. More listings are coming on, sellers are pricing in a more realistic way, and the condo market is giving buyers room we haven't seen since before the pandemic. If you've been priced out for the last 5 years, this may be your window. But that opportunity is not spread evenly across every home. Properties with weird floor plans, bad locations, deferred maintenance, and those kind of issues are going to sit on the market for months because buyers have more choices now. So if you're selling, presentation and pricing is more important than ever. But if you got a strong property in a good neighborhood, especially on the east side or in core Seattle neighborhoods with good schools and transit access, you're going to be fine. The buyers for good inventory are still there and they're still making strong offers. That's a key difference for the rest of the year. Buyers have more leverage than they've had in years, but not on every home. Now, there are still some real downsides. Mortgage rates are still sitting around the mid 6% range. Condos will probably stay soft for a while. Downtown Seattle still has a tough office market. And with this AI transition still playing out, we'll probably hear more layoff news before things settle. But Seattle is still Seattle. You just need to know where the next job growth is coming from, where the market is softer, and where it's still strong. Seattle is changing, and the people who understand the split are going to make better decisions over the next few months. They'll be better positioned for where this market is heading. If you're a professional trying to figure out the right move on a specific home, neighborhood, or timeline in Seattle or on the east side, email me at hello@mwagnerteam.com today. I'll get you a real plan based on your situation. And if you're thinking about buying in Seattle this year, watch the video I linked first. It breaks down why so many 2021 and 2022 buyers feel stuck and that quick showing decision that's driving a lot of the regret. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.